Hello everyone. We recently had a word with Ms. Sejuti Basu, who works as a senior manager in the research and advocacy team of Pragya and is also a fellow with the Royal Geographic Society. An alumnus of University of London, she has worked extensively in the area of food insecurity and knows a lot about the challenges and the action required in this space. Let's listen to what she has to share with us. Uh, Once again, thank you so much, Sejuti, for joining us today for our session today. You have worked extensively in the area of climate action and also in the area of food insecurity. You have a lot of on-ground insights on how the entire food security uh, paradigm actually pans out in India. So this is where your insights will be really helpful, which is where I would like to know from you. The very first thing is that when you have worked as per your experience, what are the prime drivers of food insecurity that you find in India, especially in the rural regions, or if you would like to share in the urban regions as well?
Right. Uh, Thanks, Arijit. I'll try to keep this simple, and I'll try to share example where I can, and do stop me and clarify if you like, if you want me to go any in depth or something like that. So, in terms of food security, I would say there are many different factors. So, India itself is a diverse country, or if you take all across the world, and one of the issues that we see here is the land holding. So, more than 85% of the farmers in India are smallholder farmers or marginal farmers. So smallholder farmers typically would have less than 2 hectares of land, and marginal farmers would have less than 1 hectare of land. And if you would like to visualize it, that will be about the size of a football ground or even like smaller than a cricket ground, to put things in perspective. And so the amount that they can produce is quite less. And apart from that, we also have lots of farmers who are landless. So they're working on other people's land where they have to pay rent, or they have to give uh, much of the bigger share of the produce uh, to the owner. So they have very limited resource at the end of the day. And then the next stage is that even with this particular plot of land, they are not getting the full benefit out of it. They're not maximizing its potential. And again, there are many different reasons. In some cases, you'll see that the land itself is not productive enough. Maybe because of the soil quality in the area, or because the nutrients have been leached away due to heavy rainfalls, or uh, maybe they have used too much chemicals at one point of time, because of which the soils have degraded, or they do not have access to rainfall or irrigation, and they cannot cultivate it like 2-3 times a year. In certain cases, for example, in the cold desert belt in the Himalayas, so there you mostly have only one cropping season during the summer, and then winter month and all, nothing can grow. Then in areas such as river islands, so we have this in India, certain places in Brahmaputra Delta, certain places in Bangladesh. So these deltas, so they get inundated every year, and people have to be displaced. So again, whatever they're cultivating, their crops may be lost. uh, so again, the amount of produce they have is very less, and they might face seasonal hunger. So certain season, just after they have harvested their crop, they might have enough to eat. But if they're not budgeting their food enough, or if they do not have other sources of income. So maybe sometimes they're working as labor in urban areas, or they have some crafts or other livelihoods, or sometimes tourism related livelihoods that they're depending on. So if they do not have those resources, then again they face a sort of seasonal hunger. In certain cases, we also see climate change is affecting the weather pattern, the predictability. So they're losing their crop because of this extreme weather events, floods, droughts. They have landslides, so their agricultural plots are getting washed away. And they are also facing a lot of new challenges in terms of pests and diseases, which were earlier not there maybe in their region. So they do not have the traditional knowledge to counter those challenges. So that's again a new set of challenges they are facing. Uh, in certain areas, it's also related to culture. That would be again for certain vulnerable groups, I would say. For example, the women would give preference to other member of the family uh, for eating, or even in terms of the food preference, or like they might prioritize a boy child over a girl child in terms of the nutrition that they receive. So these are the cultural factors that come into play. And in terms of revenues from farming, if we talk about certain areas, they also do not have access to uh, market facilities, or sometimes they are going through middlemen who are robbing them out of their profit, or they do not have like a farmer cooperative or a higher bargaining power, and they're losing out on the marketing benefit. So all these factors contribute to food security related issues. And it's an interplay of different factors, and different regions, you'll see different characters playing out.
So with respect to this, now that Pragya Foundation knows about the challenges that are being faced, what are the kind of initiatives that Pragya NGO has initiated in the target region so that they can nourish the deprived people, or they can do something in the area of food insecurity?
Right. So Pragya has been working with uh, remote marginalized communities for more than 25 years now. And the focus that we have is, our guiding principles are to make the people um, capable to make all the decisions. They should have the knowledge, and they should take their own decisions rather than us imposing anything. And if they know about the technologies that are available, or the new tools that are available, and uh, then based on their culture or their traditional roots, they can absorb what they think are suitable for them. And in terms of food security, we work on capacity building, improving their local level self-sufficiency in terms of food production and uh, nutrition. And the focus is also on critical groups who usually lose out and face malnourishment. And we sort of have like a holistic approach, and we focus on three different aspects. One is improving productivity, one is looking at nutritional aspects, and one is the economic and marketing, the revenue part of it. So in terms of productivity enhancement, the focus is also on promoting climate smart agriculture, how they can adapt to the changing climate. And for this, we usually set up local agricultural clinics. So these are run and operated by the local community members. We do the initial handholding, And they provide different services like soil testing or providing weather updates, providing all the trainings and so on. And these are also very important. For example, if we talk about um, soil testing, so if they know what are the deficiencies in their soil, they can meet that in a targeted manner. And also, if they know which particular crops, if they grow, if they follow a certain crop rotation, that will improve the nitrogen um, input in the soil. And so all those things, if we try to train them on, they can manage the soil health on their own. Then if they know about the weather updates, they can be prepared, okay, if they have to cover the crop and save it from a snowfall or a hailstorm, and they can save their crops. If they know there is a rainfall predicted, they can be prepared, okay, after this, these particular weeds or insects might come up, and they can prepare for those. So getting these updates help them in um, improving their production, agricultural production. And also, these centers are located in some of the remote uh, areas, because not always they can travel to a district headquarter or a state headquarter to avail these services where they are usually available. And we also have a lot of young youth, like male and female, who are associated with these centers, whom we train with the help of the agricultural universities. And they go through very detailed residential training and learn things firsthand. And then they deliver services to the farmers. And this helps the farmer in understanding their own farmland, knowing the measurements, what to do about their plot. And they take help in terms also for planning their crops. If they're facing any pest attacks, what to do, they can take a photograph and ask for help. So things like that. And especially for female farmers, these extension workers, they're delivering services right at their doorstep. And female farmers, they often get left out in terms of all the trainings that are provided, or they cannot go to the um, main towns to access services. So they find these facilities very helpful. And in terms of uh, training, we provide a lot of hands-on training. They also get to go for, the farmers go to exposure visits. We also set up farmer demonstration plots. So we work with a few expert farmers or people who are very keen on different kind of experiments. And in their plots, we showcase, okay, these are the fast growing varieties, or these are stress tolerant varieties that will grow even with the heavy rainfall, or that will grow even with higher temperatures. And people can come, or they are resistant to certain particular pests, and farmers can come, work at the plot, learn from each other. And they can, and we also learn like run certain experiments where if you have one plot with a traditional way of farming and growing a traditional variety of a crop, and in the next plot we are growing a different species, which is like same species but a stress tolerant variety, or something that is resistant to pest, and they can compare the difference during the time of harvest, and they can learn. And once they see the results, it's easier for them to uptake, and then they can share it with their farmer friends. And these are plots within their own villages, and they can visit, have a discussion, and they can learn from each other. So this we have found a very helpful way. And so through such kind of farms, we also promote technologies like drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, or if we want to promote solar pumps. So we first try to demonstrate this, get the farmers interested in this technology, see the benefits, and then we try to link them to different government programs where they can get some subsidy and procure this on their own. And apart from this, we also provide them different support in terms of like they can have teleconferences with experts, subject matter experts from different agricultural universities. And if they want to know about pest management or weed management and any particular queries they have, so we have it like every 2 to 3 months or during the growing season at different phases of the crop management. We have these sessions where they can clarify any doubt that they have. And apart from that, also we try to encourage them to go for crop insurance. Again, this requires a lot of facilitation because this is not a tool that they're used to. And sometimes it needs a lot of documentation. So these youth or like our field teams, we help out in their registration and how they can avail these services. So this is in terms of the first set of activities. In terms of nutrition management, we primarily work with female farmers, the women, because they are in charge of the diet of the family. And it's very important that we engage them in all these discussions and they know the science behind it, why they should have this particular diet, and uh, planning for different age groups, planning for different seasons based on the crops that they would be growing, or if they cannot grow certain crops, what they can do as alternate. So we do all those plannings with them. In certain areas like cold desert belts, I was telling you about, that they cannot grow food in the winter, we also work with them to um, set up poly houses, so greenhouses where they can grow the vegetables and so on even in the winter. So and we train them on the different nutrients that the children would need or a pregnant woman would need, and accordingly for their own families they can budget for their food and they can grow things accordingly. So we work with them to set up kitchen gardens for their home. They can also have community gardens where if they do not have enough land available, so they can have a shared parcel of land where everyone takes care of that garden. We also work with them and the local authorities for school nutri garden. So many schools, they usually offer the midday meals, and that is one of the important source of nutrition for the children. And sometimes they are often looking at only the calorific value or whether those requirements are met, and they're not looking at the entire aspect. So we try to work with them to cultivate seasonal vegetables and even to make the uh, meal more interesting for the children. So and the community, they can come and supervise those gardens and they take a lot of pride in those gardens. So these are the aspects that we work on. And we also work with local traditional healers, um, local singers, songwriters, and how to explain the importance of nutrition or what kind of diet they should have. So we try to explain through songs or small play or things like that. So we try to get the entire community involved in this process. In terms of improving the marketing and improving revenue for farming. So we usually through these local agri clinics, we deliver a service for agri enterprise facilitation. And so there the farmers, they can know where the cold storage are, where what are the current market price for each of their crops. So when they negotiate the transaction, they know exactly what are the different prices. So in the local market, in the farm market, what are the prices they should get. We try to get them registered as farmer cooperatives. So if they have lots of members, they have a higher negotiation power. They can set up buyback agreement with certain agencies. So we do look at that. And in terms of improving their revenues, we also encourage them in certain cases that at least one crop cycle, if they can grow cash crop, or if they can grow medicinal plants. So some of these high altitude areas or remote desert areas, so there are some specific medicinal and aromatic herbs that grow there. And so even for us, from a small plot of land, it can get them a large income. And so we train them on these aspects. We get them into conversation with the buyers. So we also facilitate buyer-seller meet, where the farmers can come and showcase their produce, and the buyers can tell their requirement, what is the quality they're looking for, what is the quantity they're looking for, and they can have negotiations. And in certain areas, we are also trying to facilitate them for organic certification and things like that. So which again would help them get a higher revenue for their produce. So these are the aspects that we are working on.
So in all these amazing initiatives that Pragya is running right now, have there been some challenges that the NGO has faced, perhaps from the government or from the community itself, or some internal challenges that you would like to share with us?
Right. So in terms of the agriculture or food security related programs, one of the challenges is when we are trying to get them enrolled in the government programs for the farm credit, or if for insurance. So they do need a lot of documentation, and many times they do not have updated documents, or they do not have the proof of the documents. So those become challenges, and then the process gets delayed, or they'll miss the window for that particular year. So these are some things that have come up as challenges. In some cases, we have also faced that the quality input in terms of the improved variety of the seeds or the saplings that they should grow. So when we are demonstrating it in a smaller plot and showing them how it works, that's a smaller quantity. But if everyone wants to grow it, so in that kind of quantity, those quality inputs are not available. So these are areas where the agroclimatic conditions are not very supportive. So they're like very harsh conditions, either very dry or very cold, or sometimes towards the desert, it's like very arid conditions. And there are certain specific varieties that have been developed by the agricultural universities which can tolerate those particular climatic conditions, but they are not widely available. So sometimes what we also have to do, that we develop a local nursery, then generate the planting material, and then distribute with the farmers. And So basically it needs a lot of patience from the side of the implementation agency as well as from the community. So to see the benefits, it takes some time. And many cases, it has also happened that the youth that we train for extension workers, the ones who provide services to the farmers, so many times they also migrate to the urban areas or out of state to look for other job opportunities. And then you do not have that trained resource available uh, at the source. So what we now do is, like, if we need 5 people, we would probably train a cohort of 20, so that, okay, if someone leaves, we know, okay, there is someone else who can step in into that role. And in many cases, the frequency and the intensity of disasters that have gone up in all these areas. So the number of landslides or the intensity of floods, so that has increased. So many times that can erode the revenue or whatever benefits the community was seeing. And that can lead to some demotivation. So this is something that we need to manage. So these are the challenges that we have faced.
So now that we know that what Pragya is doing as a social organization in this sector, and you also spoke a lot about the skill-based trainings that we are giving or the observation centers that we are developing. This is something that an NGO is coming up with, and I'm sure that there are other organizations also working in the same area. However, do you also think or do you also look forward to some government intervention, something from the government side in the area of food security, so that if the government sector and the NGOs can collaborate, the impact can be much higher? So, any particular initiative or any particular intervention that you are looking forward to from government?
Right. So the government is already covering a lot as part of its mandate. Um, the outreach to very remote areas is one aspect where uh, there are scope for improvement and collaboration to working with government NGO partnership um, at the, like, last mile, very grassroots areas. And also in many cases, you'll see the government policies that are rolled out, they're quite homogeneous, and sometimes they may not be suitable for certain very high altitude or very remote areas. And so those people, again, do not get the benefit. So there is some degree of customization required at a local level at certain point of time. And so that is one aspect where, again, with the technical universities as well as the non-government sector, the government sector, so everyone can work towards customizing this programs that are rolled out. And if you talk about food security in terms of government programs, now there are many different agencies that are related to food security. So for example, there is agriculture department, there is so irrigation, uh, even safe water and all that will come under water department. Safe water is very important, hygiene, safe water, because if you have waterborne diseases and things like that, whatever improvement you make, everything would get, all the benefits would get eroded if the health of the person is not well. So health department is separate. Then if you look at early childhood care, so ICDS, so that comes under women and child development department. If you look at the midday meals in the school, so that is under education department. If you look at for the adults, it's the public distribution system. So the food security is handled by very different entities, and there are enough programs and schemes to cater to the needs, but sometimes coordination might be a little less, or you do not get a full picture in a holistic manner, or throughout the life cycle of a person, whether everything is being met. So in terms of, from a user point of view, how a person is accessing service, so that needs to be looked at. So it's like, it's a coordinated approach versus a fragmented approach, uh, that duality. So yeah, some bit of improvement in coordination and working together can help.
So, Sriti, the last question that I have, which I'm very sure that everyone is looking forward to, everyone will benefit out of it, at least the people in our audience, is that what is that one action that you would recommend people, uh, people like me or any other common citizen in India or even abroad, that one action that somebody can take in individual capacity to in the area of food security in their community or otherwise?
Right. So you can help out the communities in your neighborhood who you feel are food insecure, or are facing poverty or challenges, maybe because of COVID, due to job loss or some other factors. Um, One is, you can help the communities to grow their own food. Like in many of the slum areas, even in India or in Kenya. So there are people who are growing these vertical gardens with aquaponics, or growing food in using very simple material like gunny bags or on baskets, and in a vertical fashion, or on rooftop, and which can solve the household nutrition need uh, over a longer term. So people can help out with that. They can, or they can grow food themselves and uh, share it with the communities around them, and uh, promote healthy eating, having more vegetables. In some cases, you'll find the schools in your neighborhood who are serving meals to the children. In some cases, if the schools are closed, maybe they do not have access to uh, that nutritious food. You can also work with the local restaurants or the market chains. Many times they also have food that are going waste or perishable items. Sometimes they have use by dates, so, and there are products that are reaching to, and sometimes they need to try and get rid of them quickly. And you can connect those entities with the people who need those supplies. And many of these entities are now doing such services on a voluntary basis, or they're giving subsidies to this community. So you can be the bridge who bring them together. And as citizens, I think we can also sort of pay attention to the policies, or what our local councils are doing, and whether these government services are they're running properly, or um, and bring those things out and see how we can solve things together instead of just pointing fingers. And so, like, work as citizen journalists to raise awareness, share positive stories. And in some cases, you can also like generate awareness and bring people together to shape this kind of policy at local level through your local councillors, local elected representatives. And that's how you could work together in the community.
I think that was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm very sure that the audience who will listen to this going forward will benefit a lot out of this. Thank you so much, Sejuti, for your time.